Welcome back to the Live Actually podcast. I am Four Corners, and this is episode 6. Now, I got to say, I'm enjoying this a lot. I feel like there's a bit of a rhythm forming. We're rolling, right? So let's keep this momentum going. This week, I have another fantastic guest for you. This guy, let me put it this way. There are artists and there are artistes. And he absolutely falls into the latter category. He is a singer, a songwriter, a rapper. He plays multiple instruments, and his music spans topics from relationships to socioeconomic and political issues to that feeling when you get a brand new whip and you're riding through the city. We had a fantastic conversation, and I learned a lot, and I think you will too. So let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Afta Hill. I am here with the homie, the one and only Afta Hill.
Thank you for having me, brother.
What's poppin', my guy?
All types of things.
Welcome to the loft. Happy to have you here. This is your first time here.
It is incredibly immaculate in here. The vibrations are as high as they can get.
You know what? I felt like that too when I got in and got settled. It was exactly what I hoped it would be. I was like, you know what? This is home.
It makes sense. That's what I'll say. Everything is consistent in its feeling.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And every single thing that I placed in here is very much me.
Yes.
Like every detail is like something that it screams me.
Intentional.
Intentional. Very intentional. That's actually one of my favorite words currently. I say it a lot. I think it's an important one because a lot of us do things just to do them. Or you do things and you don't even realize why you're doing them.
Stuck on automatic.
Yeah, or like what society tells us we're supposed to do, or what our, maybe our peer group is doing, or what our parents expect us to do. And we got to be intentional about doing what we do.
Not to get like metaphysical 5 seconds in, but
do it.
Art is sort of like taking your consciousness and putting it in a thing for people to be able to consume.
Right.
Consciousness can either be intentional or not, but the best art is it's hard to say intentional because it's like a lot of art you didn't mean to, but it has intent. Rather, it is not that you thought about it.
Right.
You didn't necessarily intellectualize it, but it's intentional.
But I think this is a conversation that I've had a lot recently, actually. I think that as an artist, if you are truly an artist, you being is intentionally artistic.
Well, then we get to the word present.
Yes. Absolutely.
The being is intentional, not necessarily the art itself.
Right, but as a being who is art, everything that you do will be art, and the intention is you just being yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And therefore anything you do is going to be it's by extension it's intentional because it is of you. And you move with intention.
Intentional.
See what we did there.
Whoa. Okay.
We came in hot.
How was the weather today? No, fuck that. Existence is a deplorable state of being if you don't, accept that suffering is real.
Super facts. And speaking of intention, you are, in my opinion, one of the most intentional artists that I know.
Well, I appreciate the compliment.
For real though, because I feel like everything that you do seems well thought out, well planned, and I sense the passion in it. Whether you're talking about something serious relationship-wise or something, political or, about society, a commentary on society and the state that we're in, or pulling up in the range. It's like there's intention behind it. There's a reason for the song. There's a reason for the bars. There's a reason for the melodies. There's a reason why you say things the way that you do. And there's definitely a reason why the visuals look the way that they
100%. So it's funny, on the way here, I'm listening to a book right now called Start With Why by Simon Sinek, I want to say.
Okay.
And the whole book is about how the best brands or the best creatives start with the question why and not necessarily what. What comes later, why is most important. They talk about creating verbs as your why. So for instance, why do Apple computers, why do they have such a rabid fan base, like Apple products in general? It's because they start with why, and that is to disrupt it and make better design and all that stuff. The what, they're computers, right? At the end of the day, they're computers.
But they're definitely more than that.
But yeah, the thing that the people take away is the why. So for me, it's been something that I'm trying to be more intentional about is why. And it's not an easy question to answer by any stretch of the imagination. But by the time you know why you want to do something, the choices that go into something, whether it's how it sounds, the flows, all those things, those choices are easy.
They become very clear.
Yeah. It is obvious because something is put in front of you. The lens you're using is the why, so you can see it exactly how you're supposed to see the task from start to finish.
I feel that. One of the reasons why I started this show in the first place is to speak to fellow creatives, people that I think are dope and are inspiring, and really get to what is your why. Like, why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
Why did you, well, let's start at the beginning. Why did you even begin on this path as a musician, as an artist, as a creator?
So a little background. I was born in Iran, moved here when I was 2 with my family. And I come from a very unique background in that my dad was a doctor in Iran, came here, and then went back to medical school and did it again.
Wow.
Demon.
Because it didn't transfer.
No, straight all the way from the beginning, residency and everything.
That is exceptional.
Built differently,
That is
right?
exceptional.
So that's what I saw in terms of work ethic in front of me. And then my mom had a master's degree in Iran, came back and got another one here.
Oh,
so
your parents are literally superheroes.
Just like, I don't know, man. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I would have been like, I don't know if I could do this again.
Inspirational, though. It's you got to draw from that for sure.
100%. And mind you, like working while they're doing that, right? Because, you have two kids, me and my brother. So like they took turns. My mom got her degree first while my dad worked at a factory. And then once my mom got a job, she supported the family and my dad went and did medical school.
Round of applause for your folks, man.
Crazy. So I come from an academic background, but all the while in my house, there is always music. There is always music.
Okay, what kind of music while you were growing up?
So my dad, this is such a funny story. In Iran, it's like after the Iranian Revolution in 79, which is, a majority of my parents' formative years. They were in like, I think the 8th grade when the revolution happened.
Okay.
There's censorship, like, and censorship and Western embargo. So you're not just getting like distributed cassette tapes and stuff,
right?
And all that. The new music, the channel to which you get new music, and my dad explained this to me, is some guy comes and he has a briefcase and he meets with you, opens the briefcase and turns the music and says, "What do you want?" And he brought that from Turkey. Like he smuggled it in from Turkey, brought it in, and now you can get whatever you want. And my dad was a huge nerd for music. So while all his friends are listening to like boring shit, he's listening to Black Sabbath. He's listening to Judas Priest. He's listening to Ace of Base. He's listening to Sade. He's listening to all that in Iran.
And he had his guys like, yo, I got a guy.
Yeah, same for
you
movies.
Want that new Sade?
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
a guy.
Like smuggling it in. It's
that
crazy.
You know what? I got to stop you there for just one moment, just as a sign of the times. And obviously, this was a specific situation based on the revolution. But just think about the fact that not that long ago, your parents, your dad, had to have a guy to come supply music on the low, like Prohibition style, like a
plug.
Yeah, he had to have a plug to get the new Ace of Base.
Yeah.
And now we have music on demand. We have too much music.
Way too much music.
Everyone has access to music now. Everyone has access to even present music. And at that time, it was such... I can only imagine how, like, I remember being a kid and getting a new CD, or I was into records because my dad was into records. So, like, while all my friends were buying CDs, I was still, I want the record. And I remember what it felt like to get that record that I've been looking for, or especially when I started DJing and, like, to check several record stores or to go to the record store on the day that the records get shipped in and just, like, wait. And they would get 10 copies of the new whatever. And I just hope I can get one.
The word I'd love to use is like value
Value.
or the it's a commodity. It was an actual thing, like music, like a shirt or like a pair of pants. It was a thing,
but
right?
more so because like the value of music, it's what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
Now throw into that mix. You can't just walk into a store and even buy this. You can't go to the store and hope you get a copy of. Some people are getting copies. Like, no, you got to be like, yo, meet me at the thing
Such and such.
behind the thing.
Yeah.
Don't shh, and go get your music. That's crazy.
And so my dad was the plug, like for his friends,
Right? Because he had a guy, so now he was their guy.
He was spending his money, so everyone's like, yo, like, oh, you got the new stuff. Like he was putting everybody on. So by the time they came to Canada, first of all, my dad, early adopter of the internet.
Nice.
He came here and spent $2,000 at the time, which was 3 months of rent getting a computer, and my mom freaked out. The first two things he bought, a computer and a guitar. I still have the guitar.
Nice.
And like, just you can imagine, like, do you remember when like weed was legalized and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can just go to the store and
it still freaks me out to see weed shops in the mall.
Yes.
That's weird.
Like,
that's weird.
Cinnabon and then
weed. And then Tokyo Smoke or whatever, the brands that like the ones that have been able to infiltrate the system. Like, you know, Union Station, the train station. You can buy, and the LCBO is right beside it too. Like, what are we doing?
Now imagine that for music. Like, my dad's coming here, all of a sudden he's like, I can go to HMV and just get a record.
Wow.
Like, what do you mean?
Wow.
So
I can only imagine the excitement.
Oh my God. And so anyways, always in my house is music. And my dad would play guitar and sing as well. And my mom also has an interesting background with music, where when she was a kid, like talent scouts used to come because she has a beautiful singing voice. And her dad was like an army man and was like, absolutely not.
Right.
You can't go into
I know the vibes.
arts. But my mom also sang, like, while she cooked. She's a beautiful voice. And so
Does she still sing?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm trying to get her to like
that was my question. It's like, you get her on a track?
I'm trying. She's really shy. I think the older you get, breaking down the barrier of like opening yourself up to art, it's a skill, right? It's a skill that you can hone in for sure. I don't believe that like you can be an inherently uncreative person, but it takes effort. Intentionality. It takes to be like, I'm going to open myself up now to singing or creating or whatever, right? So she's in her mid 50s. It's kind of tough, but she still sings while she cooks and stuff. Anyways, growing up,
I feel like you can get a feature for moms.
Oh yeah, for sure. Growing up, music in the house always. My dad, we have people over, they're singing. It was a big part of the functions. And Iranian music has old Iranian music pre-revolution was all Columbia Records, in like the Columbia Records, right? Back before the sanctions, back before the revolution. It was, and so they had a bunch of like British producers come into Iran and all of their equipment and stuff and record these like psychedelic funk albums in Farsi. And it's some of the most incredible music I've ever heard to this day.
I gotta find some.
I will play you. I'll put you on. Don't you worry.
You're my plug now.
I got you. Just keep it on the low.
Yeah, I need it to be in a briefcase on cassettes, though.
I have it at home. I swear.
You heard it.
I swear to God. So that's what my parents were singing.
Okay.
Like these beautiful, melancholy ballads. And that's what I grew up with these beautiful melodies, right? So... And luckily my parents, because they were so like inclined to music, and yes, they were academic, but they loved the arts always and just encouraged us,
right?
To just, do it. Like they weren't ever saying like do it professionally, but they were like do it. Like,
they're encouraging of you being involved.
Yeah.
So at what point then did it go from that to, no, this is actually what I'm doing with my life?
So as I'm getting ready to go to uni, I'm already making beats. So I started making beats at 12.
Start on?
GarageBand.
Okay.
My brother got a laptop to go to uni, and I just started messing around with GarageBand.
Nice.
And he's like, how did you do that? I was like, 12. So. And at the same time, I was making movies as well with like whatever I had. And just like, you're a kid, you're bored. So kind of doing that and then like pirating software as like a 13-year-old and just getting your hands on more and more resources. There wasn't really YouTube tutorials at the time. So
No, we had to figure shit out.
Yeah, just like
tinker
the hard way.
Yeah,
like,
just try stuff.
Yeah. So by the time I'm 15, 16, you know, I'm like, I want to make beats like Kanye. Like, this is dope. So I got a record player and I go downtown, those dollar vinyls, you know, just pick up the whole crate and just go. Started making beats like that, put a couple up, started working with some YouTubers like Casey Neistat, and then from there just blew up. And I borrowed like 40
whoa. You're just going to breeze by. Yeah, I started working Casey Neistat, and then some YouTubers. He was YouTube at one point.
Yeah.
Was this during that period?
It's right before. It was the perfect timing. It's as he started his daily vlogs.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, he's going to need music every day. So
this is before he started soliciting for music.
Yeah.
Okay. Dope.
Well, his email was still on his website.
Right.
He had 400,000 subscribers, and I loved his videos because I was a filmmaker first, right? And I was like, the music in these videos could be better. So I sent him a couple beats, and he used them. And I remember just being in like the computer lab that morning with the homies in like 11th grade, 12th grade. And I'm like opening up my SoundCloud, and it says like 20,000 plays that day. And I was like,
what happened?
Mind you, like lifetime plays was like 1,000 before that.
Yeah.
And I see you used it in the video, and like I'm losing my mind. And I'm like, Dad, give me $40. I got to put all this on Spotify right now. Didn't clear the samples, didn't do anything, but though, you know, it did well. And even like I remember Spotify reaching out early on to allow me to use Spotify for artists beta and stuff. And just like that's how it kind of got started. And my parents are practical people, so once they started seeing checks, they were like, "Oh, you're doing it. Like you're already doing it."
Yeah. You know what's very interesting to me? I find a very strong parallel between myself and a lot of people that do music in terms of parental encouragement. Like
it's necessary.
My parents were supportive as well. More my dad because he actually was a musician. My mom was very much go to school, get a job, make money.
Don't be like your dad.
Right? But no, I mean, when my dad quit music and became a chef, which is also
okay.
But like in his earlier years, he was a musician. So he understood, is my point. And he's the music guy.
Yeah.
But the parents being good, supportive parents, and, you know, I want you to be happy. So, okay, try that thing. That turning point when it starts to become a real thing for them, I was equated to things that my mom will understand. Like,
elaborate on that a little bit.
There are certain milestones that I've reached that I know...
Oh, your mom will understand.
That she will understand versus other ones. Like, she doesn't know what the hell it means to have 10 million streams. Like, she doesn't know what that means. Like, is that good? I assume it's good because it's a high number.
But if she sees you on CP24...
Right. You get me?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's certain...
Mom-rated milestones.
There are certain markers. So, like, when you said, they started seeing checks, it's like, oh, this is a real business now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is not just you fooling around on the computer in your room.
And I mean, what was funny is, like, obviously because of their background, like, I have an incredible keen love for science, for biology, for physics, for chemistry. And I did all of those courses in high school at, like, the highest level. Thinking that, like, okay, these guys aren't going to let me do, like, art. So, like, I might as well.
What did you think you were going to do then?
I had no idea. I was clueless. But I was making films, and what I understood was that film was much easier to convince my parents of because it's like a technical pursuit in a way. And like, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to university for film, guys. And they're like, okay, fine, like get a degree, whatever.
I could see that.
Yeah. And so I go to university for film, but like, dude, by the second year, like, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, what's the point? Like, I'm making music and I'm making money from the music.
Right.
Like, and my brother was first because he's older than me. He understood. He's like, just like, let him drop out and do music. Like, this opportunity is incredible. But
he was telling them that on your behalf.
Yeah. So he's always championed for me to do it. But eventually I was like, guys, like, I can't. Like, and I dropped out. And obviously that was a whole fucking thing. And, but I don't even know if it worked out, but I made it work.
No, it definitely worked out. No, the reason why I say that, and this is going to speak to a question I'm going to ask you in a bit, but the fact that you can do art daily, you know what I mean?
it's not real. It's still
like the
not
fact
real.
that you can earn money and and make a living doing art, like that's what I try to explain to a lot of people that don't really understand. They think it's either starving artists or Michael Jackson.
No in between.
Nothing in between. It's like, you got to understand, most artists don't become Michael Jackson. In fact, only one has ever done that. But there's levels to this.
Well, you don't have to be the biggest fish.
No, you don't have to. And it's not really understood in, like, you don't have to be Gordon Ramsay to be a successful chef. There are plenty of successful chefs that you have no idea what their names are or where they are, or what they make. You don't know, but they're good.
Well, and my business partner, manager, whatever, he works in publishing now. And when I started seeing the spreadsheets he looks at, I'm like, oh.
Right?
Like, and for artists that are like B tier
Right.
artists, but they're making like money from just publishing. Forget the streams, forget all of that, but just pub. And I was like, oh, you can do this. Like, you can really do this.
It is a viable business if you do it right. If you do it right.
If you do it
If
right.
you're intentional.
If you're intentional and if you're
understand.
organized and persistent.
Correct.
Oh my goodness, there's so much money to be
Correct.
made.
Now more than ever.
Yes.
Because of our access to the internet and all the tools that keep being introduced to us every single day.
Well, and people think that, yeah, like, okay, mechanical royalties are less now because, like, there's no CD sales, or there's no, like, music sales physically as much, right? Sure, but because of the distribution of music in terms of TikTok, in terms of streaming, in terms of just the ability to, like, literally get your music to as many people because of the internet, shout out Childish, the viability of like getting a big publishing check, like, for instance, your song blows up on TikTok, dude, like a TV show or a commercial or something comes to you, dude, all that's publishing, right? Yep. And like, if you wrote your song, if you produce your song, and all, you have 100%.
You're now compiling the revenue streams from that one thing that you created.
And like, with all due respect, fuck the streams, because I'll give you an example. My song Range, right?
Yeah.
It didn't stream all out well. Like, maybe, I don't know, tens of thousands.
Right.
Okay. But
which
for
those who don't
people,
understand, it's not translate to a lot of money.
No, that is nothing. That is like $50 maybe.
Yeah.
Let's say with all the Apple and everything else, because I'm just counting Spotify. Maybe like
just say a couple $100.
Maybe. I marketed that for radio and got on Sirius XM. Just Sirius XM.
Yep.
And it made more money than my entire album in streams.
Yep.
That's it. And just in one quarter.
Yeah. Well, satellite radio is the GOAT of radio because they pay the most per play.
Yeah.
And because it plays most in more places. But yeah, that's something that a lot of artists don't even consider.
So as soon as I saw that, I was like,
there's ways to do this.
Streaming's cool and all, but
no, let me put it to you this way. And this is a conversation that I have a lot with a lot of artists as well. Streaming can add up. You don't really see real money in streaming until you get into the hundreds of thousands and really into the millions. When you get
even
into
the hundreds of thousands isn't a lot.
No, but if you're in the hundreds of thousands with a lot of music and you own lion's share of your music, you can see some paper. That's the caveat. Ownership. 100%. Ownership. If you are an artist, and this is possible nowadays, if you're making the music, if you're writing it, if you're producing it, if your hands are involved in a lot of parts of it, and the lion's share of the ownership is you, then whatever that makes, you get the most of it. If you're doing a lot, you can make a lot.
Look, ultimately, it's like you make more money as an independent artist who has 1 million streams than a major label artist who has like 13 million streams.
Facts.
Like,
because there's a lot of hands in the pockets. Yeah. But that's to say,
there's a trade-off, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the trade-off gets you the 13 million over the one.
The popularity and all that. But
yeah, but like obviously you got to look at what's important to you.
Look, Russ and Daniel Caesar are probably making more than 95% of artists who are more popular.
Correct. And in my opinion, this is a whole other conversation, but in my opinion, any deal that you cut with any partners, I call them partners, not getting signed and they're your boss, it's got to be in your best interests as far as what you're looking for, like what your intention is, what you want, as well as That's number one. And then the second part that goes hand in hand with, for me, is like, am I going to be able to do what it is that I want to do, or are you going to dictate what my art
the creative
is? Yeah. Creative control. Labels, the system, it's not inherently bad.
No, it's how you use it.
It's how you use it. Correct. But it's been presented, and intentionally so.
Well, because they're
a business.
And they're predatory.
Yeah.
To be fair.
That's what I say. Intentionally so. It's presented in such a way that we are going to make you a star. That's their intention, to tell you this.
It is literally a business. I don't know how to like describe it to other people, but like, dude, like, sometimes you're just better off going to the bank and getting a loan. like if you're succeeding.
Well, you mentioned Russ. Russ talks about that a lot.
Yeah, like, even like, I'm currently like thinking about the route of getting a pub deal.
Okay.
And I'm like, why would I get a label deal when they're gonna have creative things to say, when they're gonna have this to say, that to say, distro, hand in this, hand in this, hand in this, when I get a pub deal that I can work my way out of, and like, that's it. And like, they don't own your masters. They do have a part of your pub going forward, but
you know what? I like the get a loan.
That's fire.
I like the grant system.
Yeah, the grant system is goated.
Yeah, we in Canada here are blessed to have a grant system. It is not always quote unquote fair, but nor is life. So we can get over that part. But the fact that that exists, and also, just run your business like a real business. Make sure your credit is good enough to be able to get yourself some loans. And now,
but also know that, like, okay, I gotta back up like 7 steps. You know, when you think too many things, it's like opening tabs in Chrome. You gotta look at your return on investment as an artist. Okay, I'm blessed enough to, be in the grant system.
Yeah,
and so, you know what? In the spirit of honesty, I'll just say this. I got like for my first album, I got like maybe like 55K. Okay. But I only made back like 20K.
Right.
Okay. Which is a lot of money. You know, I'm not saying it's not, and it's a grant. So it's like, I got that money, which is incredible. But I have to now be very realistic. If that was a loan from the bank, I wouldn't even be close to paying it back.
Right.
So I shouldn't even consider getting funding, because I'm not at a point yet, if that's my metric, that like I can pay that back. So now why would I be beholden to somebody else, knowing that I'm turning every $6 into fucking $2?
Because they promise you that, we're going to make you a star, and every $6 we're going to help you turn it into 20.
Yeah.
And maybe they do, probably they don't.
Exactly. And
that's the gamble.
And mind you, the opposite's true too. If you put in $10,000 and come out with 20, that's all it takes. You go into any meeting and all you have to do is show the spreadsheet. They don't even care what the music sounds like. You're just like, look, I put this much in and I took this much out. They'll give you a blank check.
Well, that's the thing. It's art and music it's an interesting dichotomy, because as artists, we're like, the art, it's incredible. Listen to the music. And they're very much about, are people going to buy it, yes or no?
Yeah.
And I understand why they're like that. We just have to understand why they're like that.
It's their job to do that.
Absolutely. We just need to understand that going in. And I'm saying this, you and I sitting here, we understand this. I'm saying this for the benefit of anybody who's an artist listening, watching, hoping to learn that it's a business deal. And it's got to make sense for both sides. They're not here to save you.
And they're not a music career tool. They're a financial tool. You really have to look at it as a financial tool.
In certain very rare and awesome situations, there might be somebody in the building that is a real champion.
If they really believe you
for you.
Yeah,
and that can be a great situation. I know some people that work in music, and I really like to believe that people that work in music are music people. Like, that's why they get into it. Nobody goes into working at a music label to be like, you
could just work for a bank instead, make 10 times as much.
Exactly.
Be just a soloist.
Exactly. It's like nobody's going in that with the intention of fucking people over. They're going in that to be a part of incredible things.
Culture.
And they get worn down to
Yeah.
Okay, I just got to make sure that the numbers are good so I can keep my job or whatever in a lot of cases. And that's unfortunate. But there are definitely some people, I know some personally, that are champions for the artists and projects that they're working and care and like become friends with the artists and go to all their stuff even when it's outside of work and like, you know, call in favors and do everything they can to help that artist be successful and reach their goals. And I love that. I wish it was more of that, but that is an individual thing.
And to add on to what you said, a lot of, or at least I'll speak for myself, a lot of the times in my career, those people aren't even looking for a signature. They're not looking for a paycheck. They might just really believe in you.
Yeah,
genuinely, absolutely. And be like, hey, this guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. I believe in both of them. Yeah. I don't have my hands in either pocket, but I love it, and it has to work together.
These people exist. Yeah, they do exist, but don't expect everybody to be like that.
No, that they're the exception.
Yeah. So you now venture into the music business. You're clearly educating yourself about how it all works and how to navigate this and how to essentially make a living. What's your experience been like, say, over the last 3-4 years? Because, you know, we just came out of the, you know, a giant lockdown and all of that. Like, how has it changed for you pre and post that time?
I think,
and have your goalposts moved? Well,
my mindset is different for sure.
How so?
A little bit. I understand the business a little bit better. That's a knowledge thing, and that made me reconsider as you said, the pillars or like the direction that you go in. So I used to definitely think that like you make good music, you make good art, and like what follows is like goodness for you because you put goodness out. And like that's not untrue.
I was gonna say, in a matter of speaking, that is still true.
Yeah.
It's just not, that's not gonna pay your bills.
It's not gonna pay your bills. It's not like guaranteed. Like even just because you care about your art doesn't mean anybody else does.
Facts.
And I realized that like the cornerstone of being a successful musician is your interaction with your audience, how like importantly you take your brand, how diligently you take your career options and paths and stuff. Those are really important. And in order to succeed long term, it's important to foster like real relationships with your fans, not just like a number on a screen.
Right.
Because there's people who have never charted, who don't have a platinum plaque, who can sell 3,000 tickets in every major market. But the opposite's also true, right? There's people with plaques and there's people with followers who can't even sell 1,000.
Yeah. Big facts.
And those people who come to your show will follow you religiously through your career. They will buy things. They will buy the shirts. They will buy, and not to say it's just a monetary thing, but they're invested emotionally in you, right? It goes back to like the why, the Apple computer. Like you know what I mean? You buy the Apple computer. It sometimes goes beyond the like technical ramifications of the thing, and it's true for art too. It's not just like, oh, you know what? I really like their music. It might actually just be like, I like what they stand for. I like how they make art.
Right. You know, in this day and age, because of social media and all that, with the access, I like them as a person, or at least I think I do. You know, what they present?
Yes.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And you use your socials in a wide variety of ways, not just to present your art, but also to speak on things that you find important.
Yeah.
Reminds me of something I heard the late, great Nina Simone say, that it's an artist's duty to reflect the times.
I heard one of my OGs one time in the studio who looked at me and said something so profound that like my jaw hit the floor. He said, music, and specifically hip hop, is a diary of the culture.
I've heard that. I've actually heard that somewhere.
I was like, what did you say? He dropped it so casually.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, whoa, it's true.
Yeah, I was curious, like, what's your take on that? Because I know you use your platform, even just simply as Instagram stories, to just speak on what's on your heart. Do you think that that is something that is a responsibility of artists, or is that something that an artist should have the right to choose whether or not they want to do that?
My opinion on this flip-flops often. I used to think like, oh my God, if you're just making like art for the sake of like, everybody put their hands up and have fun, like that's so useless, right? But I think as I get older, I understand that as well. There is value in making people feel good, but there is equally as much value in making people see something differently. I think the more mature I get as an artist, I realize that those two things are not a dichotomy. Like those two things can happen at the same time, right? The best art, in fact, can take both of these things and tastefully make something that is better than just one of the two. Mm-hmm. And so I think you know what? This is the exercise, right? How many of our great artists said nothing and stood the test of time?
And that is why I ask myself that question, because there are definitely some, especially in the modern day, more so now than I can think of in the past.
100%.
That definitely get over being very popular, very successful monetarily, and all the, awards wise and all that, but don't really take any stances on anything.
You can be successful without taking a stance, but you can never be a cultural icon.
That's an interesting take.
Like, you can never survive as a cultural icon without standing. You think of Madonna, you think of LGBTQ rights. You think of Muhammad Ali, you think of protesting the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement. You know what I mean? Like, all the real icons that just, like, became a cornerstone of society.
They stood for something.
But now I'd say the only difference becomes that, like, the commodification of music has reached its, like, maximum. There's no way to commodify art any more than it is in this day and age.
People will figure it out. They'll figure out some new shit. No, I feel that. But what you're speaking on in terms of like being iconic, there are definitely, I'm a little bit torn, because there are definitely some artistic moments that are just iconic as of themselves. Like just the visual of, like, I think of, off the top of my head, I'm looking at my records over here. I'm thinking about myself as a kid buying records. I remember the first record that I bought that was surprising to my parents was In Excess, Kick.
Okay.
Because they knew I was into hip hop, and they knew that I loved Janet Jackson and like Sade specifically, and I wanted this, pop rock album. But that song "I Need You Tonight" and the visual from it, and the album art was from the music video.
Oh, okay.
That is so burned into my brain that it's just so iconic to me.
But is that your relationship with the art?
That is my relationship with the art. And I think that because art is subjective, it's all about all of our relationships with it. Well, but I would not put In Excess in the same vein as most of the people that we're talking about. But some art is just so iconic, just that piece of art, that we will forever remember that.
Do you think that society's interaction with a piece of art can also define whether or not it's iconic? I'll give you an example. This song is somewhat inherently political, but let's pretend it's not. Like, All Right by Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Okay? That song was great. That song did really well, whatever. But then it became an anthem for BLM and for protests everywhere. So the way that society used it placed this song that was good, sure, but is now like a cultural cornerstone.
Because it became a part of a moment.
Right. Or like, you think of Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yes.
Right? So,
and that came out far before
the
Berlin Wall came down.
So is the way society uses a piece of art also not just as important as the message inherently in the art?
Yeah, because I think it's the mass interpretation of that art. If people associate with something en masse, like if a lot of people, like The Wall is a great example, because that, I can't remember what year that came in, late 70s.
70s, yeah.
And then the Berlin Wall came down in 89. So, but what it was about was very much, Cold War and, the movie with the visuals and the hammers and the everything about it spoke to that. It was a political
Well, and
commentary.
And art is political, whether you like it or not. Even if you don't make a statement, that is a political statement to say that I'm okay with the status quo.
Fair. But in this particular case, they made this statement, and then the real world reflected on that statement that was made a decade prior, and chose it as the anthem.
And you look at some of the best pieces of art. They're so political. Like Star Wars is one that people don't think about for some reason at all.
Oh my God, it's so clear.
The rebellion was based off of like the Mujahideen.
They're called the rebels.
They're called the rebels, and it's called the Empire. Like, that's America. Like, and people don't even think about that kind of stuff because it's not like... I mean, it is if you're looking for it, but it's not like this is America and this is, but that's what it is. Like the best stories, even Dune these days, right? There's these heavy religious imagery. There's this heavy like anti-imperialist imagery, but people like a lot of the times don't want to even interpret it like that. We have like a lack of mass media literacy now with like how to deconstruct art.
Well, you know what? I think there are some people that just, I just want to enjoy a movie. But there's also some people that it's just completely over their heads. They're just looking at it at face value, and it's entertaining to them or it's not. They like it or they don't. That's it. And I can't really sit here. I was going to say, I can't really sit here and say that they're wrong because you take things and interpret them as you do based on who you are, what your entire life has been to this moment, and also how you want to feel.
And how are you going to tell like someone working 60 hours a week to like how do you even expect that of someone?
But like no, but you got to understand, you got to look deeper.
I'm sitting here waking up at 10 o'clock like stretching my arms thinking about art, but you know what I mean? Like not everybody has that.
Different lens.
100%.
Do you want to be remembered as an icon?
It's selfishly, obviously, who doesn't want to be like a cornerstone of culture in some way?
Well, then what does that mean to you? And further on that, what does success mean to you?
Yo, so like, I gotta put on my like little hat to do a quick diatribe, but I think that Persian culture is so fucking cool, and for such a litany of reasons that would take me 30 minutes to explain. It has not had a cultural stronghold anywhere in the world other than Iran. Like, we don't have any Persian icons per se, other than like maybe Snow Allegra, and like she doesn't really like wear it. She like wear it on her. Not at all. Not at all.
I didn't mean on her boob. I mean like she doesn't like wear it on her chest.
Yeah. Sometimes she's just like I'm Persian and Swedish and cool. Woo. But to make it like cool without, first of all, also without being the fucking I'm Persian token, like you don't want to be that either. But just to like shed light on like,
to be proud, but to be proud and represent,
man, like
without it being a gimmick.
Yeah, and to like just make it cool. Like I want those kids
not make it cool, show them that it's cool.
Yeah, like dude, do you know how many kids like message me and they're like, yo, like you're actually cool. Like a lot of these other
what
artists.
Does the actually part come into that? Because this podcast is called Live Actually, based on people live, but are you actually living? Is my meaning behind it. It's like, yeah, you're alive. Like, everybody dies, but not everybody lives. Like,
correct.
Are you living actually? So when they say you're cool, actually, does that mean there's like a bunch of corny Persian rappers that they're aware of that
super
they feel
corny.
Like, really?
Because in the same vein that hip hop today is used as a means to exploit historically black culture to make a means to an end, and maybe even sometimes glorify the poverty and the
there's certain aspects of it that
for a capitalist gain, for a personal capital
part of it,
and for a personal, not even a societal gain where you're like, let's make this cool for everybody so we can all eat and so we can all shed light on this and make it useful. And I'm not saying everyone does that. I'm just saying like it happens a lot.
Yeah,
Persian hip hop is like the fucking maximalist version of that. Think like K-pop, how K-pop does that, and it's like commodifying artistry. It's like the same thing. there's a few hip hop artists who aren't like that. Right now, what comes to mind is Too Much Salehi, who just got sentenced to death in Iran.
Yeah.
Just
for speaking out.
Just for saying, fuck you, I don't believe in what you say.
I saw somebody make a video recently likening him to Tupac.
Yeah.
And be like, imagine if that happened to Pac, because Pac spoke on the exact same things about America, but he was free to do so.
Yeah. And so you think about it like that, and you're like, wow, you're paying the ultimate price to say what you want to say. And that's the most hip-hop thing that anyone could ever do, because that's what it is, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a...
It's counterculture.
Counterculture, exactly. So I think most Persian rap these days has co-opted into just culture and not counterculture, similarly to here in the West.
Right.
And that's why it's kind of corny, and they're just following trends. They, you know, me and Kia, my videographer, we often make this joke. How do you make a Persian thing that blows up? Just take the coolest English thing and then say it in Farsi. And now you're like the coolest guy, right?
Okay, I understand your train of thought now on that. I completely understand that.
So it's like,
your goal is to know I'm going to be authentically Persian.
And I want to make art that's just good.
Yeah.
Like not good
good
Persian.
For a Persian.
No, forget that.
Yeah.
I want to make art that's good. Like I'm not a lot. You know what it is? It's like I have a term. It's a really weird term on its face, but like artistic ancestry.
Okay, explain.
So you and the people you're competing against, like I use that phrase loosely. You all are just like looking at each other's art and only competing with each other in your small little realm, and it breeds like really repetitive motifs in the art.
Yeah, that helps nobody.
No, ideally the best artists, you know, they're looking at art that is so outside the purview of what they're doing, and they grab inspirations. And so I'm not that's one major issue with Persian hip hop, is that they're just not expanding. It's getting better, but they're not expanding the things they're grabbing from, the references, the reference images.
And there are examples, just it's not the norm at this point.
Yeah, I think the best Iranian hip hop right now is coming out of the South. So most people don't know this, but Iran has a gigantic Afro-Iranian diaspora. Yes.
All right, Plug, you got to put me onto that too.
So there's tons of incredible black Iranians in the South making some of the dopest music I've ever heard in my life. Okay. And oh my God, it's so good. But you know, the south of Iran's particularly like poor. Those areas are really poor. So it's hip hop at its root. Like it's the same as the Bronx and Brooklyn in the late 70s. Yeah. And so that's why it's so incredible. And
it's like, real. It's raw.
It's so real. It's so angry at the material conditions. It's so like, I'm putting on for me and mine. And we make this music for people here, like, so that we can play it at our parties and shit. So that kind of music is dope as hell.
Awesome. Well, definitely I need to be put onto that.
I got you.
And so what does success mean to you then? Like,
my bad, I didn't answer your question.
No, it's all good. What do you want to be able to look back on your career and say, or even feel during it, and be like, I am successful?
I think standing up for what I believe in, saying what I believe in, never ever compromising quality or message for $1, and still being able to be successful despite those not shortcomings, but beliefs, right? Because they're limiting in terms of your opportunity, right?
Or they can be.
They can be.
Yeah.
It is, because you're challenging the status quo of capital. So capital isn't gonna turn around and be like,
reward you for that.
Yeah, for saying fuck you. Like you say fuck you to someone, they're not gonna pay you.
Yeah.
Right. So if I can do that and stick to my guns and stick to what I believe in and my why, and still be successful and have a long career of doing so, then I've succeeded.
I love that. That's everything. And it's not far from what I expected from you, because I know who you are as a person and who you are as an artist, and I'm here for it. I can't wait to see what's next.
Appreciate it.
We're working on some stuff together as well, and more. And brother, thank you for coming through, man.
Thank you so much for having me.